Well, folks, it's Dylanology time again. Time to look at the biggest sleazebag to ever win the Nobel Prize for Literature. I can't think of anyone more sleazy. Anyway, we're going to look at some lines from Dignity, which is an interesting poem. Let's see. We're going to look at the part that deals with Tom Sawyer. You really have to know American literature to understand Bob Dylan. He does have a great knowledge of literature. Got no place to fade. Got no coat. Okay, got no place to fade. I'm young. I'm not fading away. Got no coat. Remember the Tom Sawyer portion where he convinces his friends to pay him to whitewash a wooden fence? So I got no coat of whitewash. I'm on a rolling river, the Mississippi, in a jerkin boat, on a raft, trying to read a note that someone wrote about blacks, about dignity, trying to read a book someone wrote about blacks. But Dylan would probably use a different word. Sick man looking for a doctor's cure. A nauseating person is looking to Dr. Tom Sawyer, looking at his hands for the lines that were, looking at his writing for the lines that he would wish to put in that book, and into every masterpiece of literature, and looking for the word nigger in every masterpiece of literature so he can censor it, doctor it, for dignity, for blacks. So, you know, this is, took me a long time to figure this out. And it turns out that a lot of the Dylan stuff is about, a lot of it is about a suicide attempt. For example, your railroad gate, you know, I just can't jump it. That's the gate, that's the partition on the Brooklyn Bridge that's separating Dylan from death, which he has to jump over to end up in the East River. Sometimes it gets so hard, you see. Sometimes life gets so hard, as it did when he seemed to be failing in 1962. I'm just sitting here beating on my trumpet. He's just trying to make it, beating on his trumpet, like masturbating in a sense, not getting anywhere. With all these promises you left for me, with all his talent, his promise, wondering, where are you tonight, sweet Marie? Where are you tonight? Smell of success, sweet smell of success. Where are you tonight? Success. And also, you know, at the beginning of Hard Rain, I've been 10,000 miles in the mouth of a river or something, of an estuary. What does he say? I've been on. I forget what's the lyrics. Let me see. Let me go here. Okay. Search for Hard Rain. We got 37. Okay, here we go. Oh, where have you been, my blue-eyed son? Oh, where have you been, my darling young one? I've stumbled on the side of 6 misty mountains. There's that water repetitive theme. I've walked and I've crawled on 6 crooked highways. It's been in a lot of crooked venues. I've stepped in the middle of 7 sad forests. It's been in a number of cities. I've been out in front of a dozen dead oceans. There's that water thing, symbolism again. I've been 10,000 miles in the mouth of a graveyard. That's the East River. It's an estuary. It's the mouth. The mouth is when the river empties into the sea. And it's hard rain gonna fall. So for years and years, I couldn't figure that one out. Where you've been, I've been stumbled, 6 misty. Then I looked at the repetitive theme, water, and the clue was the mouth of a graveyard, death and water. So it's Dylan is saying how he was depressed and he was going to jump off the Brooklyn Bridge. It's all in the liner notes to Another Side of Bob Dylan. Some people say that it was Rabbi Kahana who talked him out of not jumping, because Kahana was Arlo Guthrie's rabbi at the time, because Woody had married a Jewish lady, Jewish Communist Party lady, and they lived in Brighton Beach, and that's where Kahana had his congregation. So who knows? I don't know that one way or the other. I do know later on he contributed money to the Jewish Defense League. But, he wasn't really much of a Jew. He really wasn't much of anything, And I Want You, he gives his excuses why he didn't go in the army after running down all this communist rhetoric, anti-communist rhetoric, also communist rhetoric, which, he pretended to be in order to make it in the folk world. So it's all talk, it's all bullshit. When the push comes to shove, Dylan, he wouldn't stand up for his beliefs. He says, I'm not that way. I wasn't born to lose you. He wasn't born to lose his life fighting in Vietnam. He let others do it for him. So he could have stopped taking junk. Wouldn't it be his luck to be caught without a ticket and discovered beneath a truck? Be caught without a draft card and be discovered as a heroin addict. So, he goes around, and he was at the Beacon Theater last week. I didn't go see it because I'm not going to give him any money. Why should I give him money? He doesn't need my money. One time when I was hanging out with him on Houston Street, he wouldn't let me in. So I went to the window and looked in and copied the phone number off of his phone and went to a payphone to called him up. I said, I know you're there, man. Let me in. So he let me in. But that was all the money I had was like a dime. And so I wanted to get a soda to wash down the caffeine sidetrack that I had dropped in order to, get a lot of information across to him. A lot of it was bogus anyway. And he wouldn't give me a dime. He wouldn't let me a dime. Not a dime. Not one thin dime. So, I'm reciprocating. I'm sure he doesn't need my money anyway. And what am I going to see at these concerts? And, some sleazebag who sold his ass in Times Square when he first came to New York. What a fucking sickness. Then later on, he makes fun of gays, at the gay rights at the Democratic Convention. I have a date with a fairy queen. He's a whole bundle of contradictions. But basically, you know, he's himself. He's basically a nothing. No real commitment to anything except himself, except his career.